Here are some ideas on how to take a simple chord progression and turn it into a funk groove. If you've been following my lessons, most of the time I've been showing you how to play ideas over one chord or a bump. This time we're going to take these ideas to a chord progression. So let's take a look at the chords first. We're going to be in the key of G. E minor 9 is going to be the 6th chord. B minor 7 is going to be the 3rd chord. A minor 7 is going to be the 2 chord. D9 is going to be the 5 chord. Then G major 9 is going to be the 1 chord. And here I'm going to play a secondary dominant, the 5 of the 6, B7 sharp 5, to add tension to go back to the 6th chord, E minor 9. So now let's take a look at the first two guitars. Guitar 1 is going to be a funky guitar play on the top 4 strings. And for guitar 2, I'm going to be playing a lead part following the chords. So guitar 1, let's try to follow those chords on the top 4 strings, right? So let's start with E minor 9. Here I have the chord, like my reference chord. I have the E note on the 7th fret of the A string. If I go one string up to the low E string, I have the 5th, right, on the bass. I can take that note to the high E string, and I'm going to have kind of a G major 7 chord, right? But with the bass on E, it becomes an E minor 9. Here's a really nice concept. You can say that a G major 7, that is the 1 chord, with the bass on the 6th chord, is going to give me a 6th chord minor 9. Then for the next chord, B minor 7, all I'm doing is bringing that G note, 5th fret of the D string, a whole step up to that A note. So I have a really classic B minor 7 chord here on the top 4 strings. Then for the 2 chord, A minor 7, I'm going to use this voicing. Right? If I take that A note away, I just have a C major triad here. That's the 4 chord in the key of G. So the 4 chord with the bass on the 2 chord, 2 chord minor 7. Then I'm going to go to the 5 chord, in this case D9. And on the top 4 strings, of course, I'm going to go for this one, right? I have a D9. And also in this case, I'm bringing that 3rd, 7th fret of the B string, half step up to the 4th. So I'm going to have a D9 sus4 here. So I'm creating a little bit more movement in this chord, from D9 to D9 sus4. Now for the 1 chord, G major 9. Again, I'm playing on the top 4 strings, so I'm going to go back to this B minor 7. Look what happens if I put my bass on G. I actually have a G major 9 here. I have the root, then I have the 9, that's the A note, I have the 5th, I have the major 7, F sharp, and I have the major 3rd. So if you play the 3 chord minor 7 and put the bass on the 1 chord, you have a 1 chord major 9. And to finish the alter chord, B7 sharp 5, all I'm doing is bringing that bass note on the low string to the high string, so I have this chord. So just those chords sound like this. Now for the next guitar part, again, let's try to follow those chords. First by playing a melody, but then let's try to harmonize that melody. So the melody by itself sounds like this. Now, if I follow the chords, I'm going to have this. The first chord, remember the 6th chord, E minor 9. I'm going to just play this little bar chord on the 12th fret and go to that 9th. Right? Then after this, with the pinky, I'm playing that flat 3. And now B minor 7 is coming, so I'm going to go to this B minor triad. First inversion strings 2, 3, and 4. I have that B note on the melody, 12th fret of the B string. So far I have this. 2, 3, 2, 3, 4. Now the next chord, the 2 chord, A minor 7. Now this concept I probably have shown you more than 10 times in my past lessons, right? Anytime you have a 2 chord, in this case A minor 7, you can actually play the 4 chord that is C major and the 5 chord that is D major on top of the 2 chord. So when the A minor 7 chord is coming, I'm actually going to the 5 chord that is D major and I'm sliding down to the 4 chord. Over A, I will have the Dorian sound right here. Then for the 5 chord, D9. Again, another concept that I have shown you probably more than once. Anytime you have a 5 chord, you can actually play the 2 chord minor and the 3 chord minor over the 5 chord. In this case, I'm going to have A minor, and a whole step up, I'm going to have B minor. I'm playing that over D, right? So what I'm doing is just sliding chromatically from A minor to B minor. So that bar, A minor to D9, it sounds like this. Then we have the 1 chord, G major 9, and remember the concept on the other guitar. You can play a B minor 7 chord and put the bass on G, and you have a G major 9. So all I'm doing here is not playing a B minor 7, but just playing a B minor triad. It's gonna give me the sound of a G major 7. This time I'm not worrying about the 9. I know that the other guitars or maybe the bass are playing the 9 for me, but I just have some chord tones of the chord, right? So I'm actually going to this B minor triad, second inversion strings 1, 2, and 3 over G. Give me the sound of a G major 7 chord. So remember, the melody at the end was chromatically going from the D note to D sharp, that chord with tension, right, that secondary dominant, to E. So for that G major 9, so far we have again that B minor over G, G major 7. Now this chord is coming, right, the alter chord, B7 sharp 5. Let's focus on the top 3 strings. I want to bring this B note on the 7th fret of the lowest string to the high string. And I'm going to have this B augmented triad, right? If you think about B major triad, first inversion, I have this chord. To make it augmented, all I'm doing is bringing that 5th half step up. So now I have a B major augmented, right? If I put the 7, it's going to be B7 sharp 5. Now, an augmented triad also belongs to a really common scale that is the whole tone scale. The whole tone scale is a scale that has 2 alterations, the flat 5 and the sharp 5. Remember, in music you have 4 alterations, flat 9, sharp 9, flat 5, and sharp 5. Remember also the flat 5 can be known as the sharp 11 on a major 7 chord, and the sharp 5 can also be known as the flat 13, right? So if you take 2 alteration sound, I just use the flat 5 and the sharp 5, you're gonna have this sound. That's the whole tone scale. And the beautiful thing about this scale is that it's really symmetrical. You can actually move it always in whole steps, and you're gonna have the sound of those 6 notes, right? So what I did here to try to find this D sharp note, right, on my melody and try to create harmony over that melody, is I brought this B augmented triad 2 times up in a whole step, right? So I went from this chord, a whole step up, right? These 2 notes again belong to that B alter, right? Here we have the flat 5, here we have the flat 7, and here we have the 9. It's part of that whole tone scale. It kind of leaves a little bit the key of G major or E minor or the classic E harmonic minor. But I'm just thinking about this chord, the B7 sharp 5 or B7 alter by itself, right? So I could think about so many scales. Mixolydian, sharp 5 flat 9, the Superlocrian. So for a second, I'm just thinking about the whole tone scale. It's easy to understand for me, right? And maybe for you too. But what I'm doing here is just bringing an augmented triad, in this case, B augmented, 1 whole step up, and another whole step up, right? To that D sharp note. So my melody can do this. Right, I'm going from this G major 7 to this little new guy, and then I'm gonna finish, of course, back in the 6th chord that was E minor 9. Now, if I analyze these 3 notes that I'm using over B, I'm gonna have the sharp 5 or flat 13, I'm gonna have the root, and I'm gonna have that major 3rd, right? So this little shape actually fits the mode of the harmonic minor scale. There is no flat 5 that usually comes from the whole tone scale. There is just a sharp 5, right? That note belongs to the secondary dominant that you play on the 3 chord that goes back to the 6th chord in a major scale, right? Or in a minor scale, whatever you want to see it relative, E minor to G major. Now let's take a look at the last 2 guitar parts. First guitar is going to be playing some chords on the lower register, and the other guitar is going to be playing a single note line. Here's how that sounds. So again, let's try to follow the chords, but this time using the lower register. I'm going to start with this E sus2 chord here. Remember, the whole harmony is going to give me an E minor 9, but this part is just taking care of 3 notes, the root, the 9, and the 5th. There is no 3rd, there is no 7. for B minor 7, I'm just going to use a B minor triad. First inversion, strings 3, 4, and 5. Somebody else is playing that flat 7 for me. Somebody else is playing maybe another extension. For this part, I'm just taking the flat third, the fifth, and the root. Now for the 2 chord, E minor 7, I'm going to play this classic E minor 7 shell voicing. Right, I got the root, flat 7, flat 3. And for the 5 chord D9, I'm going to go again to this classic D7 shell voicing. Again, another guitar is playing the 9 for me. In this guitar I have the root, the third, the flat 7. For the 1 chord G major 9, again, another guitar is playing the 9 for me. Here I just have the root, the major 7, the major 3. And to finish that B7 sharp 5, the alter chord, I'm actually going to play an F major spread triad here. Right? Now these notes in relationship to F are the third, the root, and the fifth. Now again, you can think about this alter chord in so many different ways, right? Remember there are 4 alterations in music, right? We got the sharp 5, the flat 5, sharp 9, and flat 9. If I play F major over B, the A note is going to be the flat 7, that F note is going to be the flat 5, and that C note is going to be the flat 9. So I decided to bring that flat 5 to that chord. So for 2 beats of the bar, I'm going to create enough tension to resolve back to that 6th chord, right? The E minor 9. So our harmony so far have this sound, right? B7 sharp 5. Sharp 5 is here. So check out what happens if I bring the flat 9 and the sharp 5. That's a lot of tension. I like it, right? For 2 bars, and then you resolve to E minor 9. Now that flat 5 is not going to be that close range-wise, right? I'm using this F major triad here. So that note is actually, right, lower in register. But if you put all the guitars together, the tension is going to be there, right? There's one guitar that is playing this, right? There's one guitar that is playing this. And then now there is this guitar that is playing that flat 5. To go back again to E minor 9. Now for the last guitar, it's going to be a single note line that is going to try to glue all the guitars together. So now for the first 2 bars, I have this F sharp as my highest note, right? This F sharp is actually the 9 of E minor 9, but it's also the 5th of B minor 7. That sounds like this. Now for the last 2 bars, that G note is going to be my highest note on the melody, right? Now G for A minor is actually the flat 7. But for D9, it's actually that sus4, right? When I went from D9 to D sus4, I have that G note there, right? And the only difference is that on the last bar, when I'm going to this B7 sharp 5, right? I need to bring this D note half step up to have that major third, right? So that's gonna sound like this. Now if I put all that together at the end, I have this.